Hello, welcome back everybody to the Listen Loan Let's Go podcast. It is great to be back here. Gentlemen, welcome.
Welcome, Dan. How are you?
I'm very well. How about you guys? We're going to introduce you in a second, Jack. Before we do, Xavier, bring us up to speed. What's been happening in the last month or two with you guys?
Yeah, there's been plenty happening. We've done a lot of work on becoming more cyber safe.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of improvements there. A lot of things changing, which is great. We've also obviously onboarded Jack and a few other team members. So Go Mortgage is quite healthy and growing,
Fantastic.
which is great to see. Although at the same time, this has been interesting, is the market's been a bit slow. So
Okay.
I think people have been a bit cautious.
Sure.
Not sure what to do, sitting on the hands a bit. And we'll talk about that a bit later in the podcast. I think that's about to end. So
We've got to throw you under the bus though. Personally, you're winning awards.
Yes.
It's like Oscar season. What's going on? You guys are just collecting.
well, we try our best. I suppose perseverance pays, and try to do the right thing, offer 5-star service and great outcomes. So, yeah, it feels good when.
What have you guys won? Come on, time.
Okay,
It's not the time to be humble now, Xavier.
Okay, so we have won the Regional Broker Awards
Fantastic.
at the Australian Broking Awards, which is a big thing. Big
Awesome.
thing. So, yeah.
And what about
super
yourself
proud.
personally? Did you sneak into a list we saw?
And we are also finalists for the Australian Mortgage Awards. We're coming up in a month or so. So really stoked that the industry is recognising all our efforts, and it's paying off. Yeah.
Congratulations, guys! It's awesome.
Thanks.
Now, Jack, welcome to you. Welcome to the podcast, and welcome to Go Mortgage. Tell us a bit about your background.
Well, I've been a mortgage broker now for about 2 and a bit years, and I used to run my own business, but I sort of saw Xavier and Go Mortgage, and once I came to chat to them and sort of understand how professional they are and all this really good award-winning sort of performance and how they are, I was really excited to sort of join them. And
Awesome.
It's been 3 months now, Xavier, I think.
That's correct. Yeah.
For that, and I'm doing well. Loving it here. Great team environment, going really well.
So, what drew you to Go Mortgage? Why Go Mortgage?
I think it was that. It's just the awards themselves that they've won and just how good they are. And I sort of was a bit hesitant at the beginning, but as soon as I sort of got in and saw the whole process and how it runs, it was miles ahead of anyone else I sort of know in the business. And yeah, they're sort of real leaders in a lot of particular key places for the whole process. So.
And your role? What's your role within Go Mortgage?
I'm a broker. I'm not quite Xavier's level, but I'm still a broker. So I still chat to clients every day and try and get the best outcomes for them. So that's my role.
On you, Jack. And how's it going so far, Xavier?
Jack is definitely a solution seeker, so
Awesome.
that's great. He's integrating the team very well. We've had fun and also doing good business, so it's great. And it is a show also. You asking about what's happening in the business. I think what's happening in the industry also is that the industry is changing a lot rapidly, over the last 10 years, if 10 years is quick. But if you look at what it was 10 years ago and now, there's major changes happen. Sure. And what we're finding is more and more guys like Jack just want to be a broker. They don't want to specifically be a business owner.
Yep.
And so Go Mortgage is also changing from a lot of focus on me to being a house for brokers.
Sure.
Jack is part of that change in our business, which is great. Welcome. New blood, fresh ideas. It's awesome.
It's good because we've talked about it over the past year on this podcast, and you've exactly what you've just described. So now seeing it develop kind of full circle, bringing Jack in. Jack, I have to ask, so have you made any contributions to the suggestion board out there or the things that Xavier can do better board that we heard about last time?
Oh, I don't know.
Too early to...
too early for me to start stepping on toes on those
fair
sorts of things. But maybe in future we'll look at some. But,
okay.
It's going really well.
Sounds like he's got a couple up his sleeves, Xavier, so watch out.
I've got tough skin, mate. Go for it.
All right, well, let's get into today's episode. This is going to be a bit of a topical one, which is going to be really interesting. Now, we're going to start with, this is a busy time of year to sell. I want to know why, because for me being on the outside, I don't understand why now, all the times of the year, it is now. So why?
Do you want to have a go at selling season?
I definitely can.
We
call it selling season, do we? Is that an industry term?
Well, it's selling season or spring season.
Okay.
They call it, So, and it tends to be, I suppose spring does a lot of wonderful things for all sorts of people and breeds, but it does the same thing for the property market. So wake up after winter, want to do something new, get a change and upgrade. So that's usually what comes with it. Yeah,
I can definitely say that I'm one of those people, because I mean, we all sit in a cold winter, if you could call that, in Queensland, and then sort of come out from there, and all of a sudden you're feeling all bright-eyed, and you want to get out there, and all these houses all of a sudden have pools, and they just look really great, and you're like, I could definitely do with a change after that. As I said, cold winter.
So are you talking about people coming from interstate?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about Queenslanders?
I mean, both, realistically. There's still is a fair bit of interstate sort of migration, even from sort of northern rivers. I mean, pretty much the Gold Coast. But they're still coming up here for the lifestyle, I think. I've seen a lot recently.
Yeah, there's still a lot of interstate migration. Melbourne's still not the happy place it's supposed to be, apparently.
He always likes giving a dig to us, Melbourne Bernies, every time we're here.
On the other hand, and we don't have the disco ball here yet, but Melbourne's
coming.
A great place. We're going to see Melbourne in the papers, in the tabloids in the next 12 to 24 months. I think it'll be a great place to buy. But right now, people are more getting out than getting into Melbourne. And they're coming here, and they're coming to Perth, they're coming to a few places. Selling season is also, as Jack said, it's getting warm, we don't have a pool. Do we move? Do we put a pool in? Do we upgrade before the kids go into school next year? Do we, so all these things are what spring brings about. But the interesting thing, though, this year is that spring season is late. Not to do with the weather, because we've got that, but I think it's more the interest rate and cost of living and all that kind of weather pattern that is maybe delaying the season a little bit. Yeah.
So do you project typically in the winter months for what's coming up, and you've seen a slower start? Is that what you're sort of saying?
Yeah, we have seen a slow start, like a slow probably couple of months.
So so that's great from your perspective. What about our listeners' perspective? What does selling season mean to the person listening to this podcast? What should they be aware of? What do they need to know?
So what we're thinking is it is delayed, and it's sometimes a little bit like a rubber band, right? Mm-hmm. So the question is, do you want to go and buy something when everyone else is trying to buy something, or do you want to go when it's a bit quiet? So I would always think that the market being quiet is a great opportunity for you to be more active, and we think it's not going to stay quiet very long.
Yeah, okay. So now would be the time, if you're in that mindset, to start having these conversations sooner rather than later?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely start to do your research. As I said, if it's quiet now, it's a good time to start to research those areas that you may have been looking to buy, sort of look into, and really even come to us, because we can definitely help you with that. And I think one of the most important things along with that research is definitely pre-approvals. Yeah. Okay. That can really, really help you in almost every aspect when you're looking to buy.
What's the time frame for that, typically, pre-approvals?
How long they last, you mean, or how?
So from the moment a person decides they want to go and take that step to go and get pre-approval to getting it finalised and ticked off, how long does it typically take? So you might be saying, Jack, now's the time to start if thinking about it while it's quiet, but like you said, Xavier, it might speed up rapidly. So
So how long do we need for a pre-approval, do you reckon?
Look, typically, I would say probably 2 weeks for it to be sort of...
Pretty quick.
That's pretty quick.
That's right. So within a couple of weeks, we can organise one. Yeah. And then they're valid for
3 months. So then you've got 3 months, which is that perfect time of the start of that, hotter season and the warmer weather, and have plenty of time then to go and look for the perfect property.
So is it, if somebody's on the fence, is now a good time to start just opening the conversation with you guys, even if they're not 100% sure? Is it just good to start dipping their toes in?
Yeah, correct. So I think, whether you buy at auction and want to be auction ready, or you buy a house by private treaty and normal contract, and we've covered that before with a 7, 14, 30-day rule in Queensland, it pays to have a pre-approval. So what we hear from agents is that's one of their first questions. Are you pre-approved? Mm-hmm. agents don't want to waste their time and want to make sure that if you put an inquiry in, you're fed income kind of thing. So I think all those that are pre-approved have got a leg up on those that don't. Not only that, but if you go a couple of steps back, it'd be nice to know if you can buy something in the first place. And so that's what Jack was talking about. Come and see us, and then we can work through that. Do you have the attributes? Are we missing something? Do we need to fix something? Do we need to wait for something? It's better to know now. Let's say if you came to me and I said, well, Dan, there's something there. We need to wait a couple of months. At least you know.
Yep.
If you come to me in a couple of months and you're ready, we need to wait another couple of months, then it's annoying, right?
Sure.
So there's a lot of work that's done in the search for pre-approval that gives you an idea of if you can, when you can, or how you can. Right?
Yeah.
And I suppose that is a valuable exercise in itself.
Makes total sense. So it says here, be prepared for auctions. So that's a bit of a light claim. What does preparation look like for an auction?
Do you want to have a go? Yep.
I would say the first thing I would probably say is pre-approval, making sure that you get your finance in check, because unlike other things with an auction, the day you just put your hand up and bid the final bid, that's the day when your finance is there. Yeah, when they bang that hammer, that's who you've bought that property. So it's not like a traditional private treaty in that sense, but you've got your finance. It needs to be sorted that day, and that's really crucial for auctions.
Do people make that mistake often? That they haven't?
Yes,
yeah.
people do.
And then what happens? So I'm naive to this. What happens then?
Well, it's a function of either being overly optimistic, and not really understand what they're getting into, or having big, liking risk, I would say. But yeah, no, it can be very dangerous. You buy a property at auction and you don't have an approval, and say for some reason we unearth a skeleton in the cupboard, which means you can't get approval. It's a big problem.
Yep.
You can lose your deposit, you can get sued for it.
Really?
It's definitely not something we want to do.
Wow.
So to get auction ready, for me, there's really two things, which are, number one, get your finance sorted before you go to auction. Understand exactly what your limit is. And the second one is do research on the property, because when you buy it at auction, it's done, right? So if you want to do building in pest, if you want to, have a look at the property thoroughly, do that before the auction, because you can't do it after you bought it.
Makes sense. So the final point on this kind of topic is, you've talked about doing your research, but if you're not confident on finding a property, you guys can help. Buyer's agent, what does that mean?
Yeah, so there's multiple ways we can help. We've got connections with buyer's agents, and what we find sometimes with buyers is, especially first-time buyers, they've never done it before, but even people who may not have bought a property for 5-10 years, it's not something you do all the time, and the negotiating a contract, understanding the legalities of the contract, the time frames, in some cases a buyer's agent can help a lot with that. They do it all the time. Not only can they find and negotiate a property that you may not be able to, but they can also hold your hand through the process.
Sure.
Now we do it as well, right? In wherever we can. That's part of our 5-star service. There are, however, some areas we can't advise on,
Sure.
And so that's where the other professionals help us out. But certainly, buyer's agent can have access to properties that are not on the market normally, and help you negotiate, put the contract together.
Yeah, well, we'd encourage everybody to go back and listen to the episode with Olivia too, because she'll
Correct.
give some great tips there. One quick question off the cuff. So you guys call it selling season. Do you have swooping season up in Queensland, or is that a Melbourne thing? Do you know what that means?
No.
That's some magpies.
Magpie.
You can't take a step outside your front door without being swooped every single day. It's horrible. So.
We do have the pies here. Well, no, they're really in Melbourne. No, we do have magpies here, and some of the problems, but we do see the guys, on their bikes.
Oh getting rid of them. Yeah. All right. So this is the other thing. So we like debunking a few rumors on this show too. Now, I keep hearing that it's getting harder and harder to get a loan. So in selling season, why is it harder and harder to get a loan?
Do you think it's harder?
Or is that just a rumor?
I think that's definitely just a rumor.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, to a degree, but nowhere near as much as I would say the media is portraying it at the moment.
Is that because people don't know their borrowing capacity? Is that typically...
Yeah, and maybe that's probably one of the reasons. Yeah, I'd say it's borrowing capacity, and I suppose it's just the media sort of shoving down their throats, per to say, that it's just consistently a bad time, and we're in doom and gloom, which is not really.
You guys never talk about doom and gloom here, but that's what the media says.
Yeah, so and I mentioned before, there's a sentiment issue in the market at the moment. People are not sure, and when that happens, they tend to pause, right, and wait to see what's going to happen. What that does is it slows it down for the banks as well. Mm-hmm. So banks are definitely keen to lend money, but they have to abide by the policies and rules. And I think, as Jack mentioned, the biggest handbrake at the moment is borrowing capacity. But that's not actually the banks putting that handbrake on. That's the interest rate. And the regulators. So the regulators have imposed on the banks that they need to have a 3% buffer when we calculate a loan. So if you're going to get a home loan with a 6% rate, when we qualify you, we actually put it on at a 9% rate.
Okay.
Right. And so that's a big difference. It's another half or 50% more again. Right. So, and the other part is indeed the media, including the Reserve Bank, who's still going out on scare tactics to try and prolong their effect and get the inflation to drop. But no, there's banks are open, we're open for business, and there's plenty going on. Yeah.
So if somebody's done their research, they know what they want to buy. How do they actually know their borrowing capacity? How does somebody find out?
Well, I say the easy answer is to come to us and find out. But
you guys do it for them.
Yeah, we do the sort of whole process as we've said here, and it really comes down to that borrowing capacity can quite quickly turn into that pre-approval that we mentioned, and that's then your limit or what you can go out and spend, and that's how you can sort of have your borrowing capacity assessed, and then we sort of let you go out into the world and spend your 3 months looking for the perfect property.
He's good, isn't he, Jack?
Yeah, he's good.
He's very good.
Come and see him. There's no real shortcut to the borrowing capacity. Like a lot of our clients, a lot of people out there would like to tell me my borrowing capacity in 5 minutes, which would be great if we could, right? And there are kind of rules of thumbs. There's online calculators. You can jump on our website. There's borrowing capacity calculators there, but they're never really accurate, right? For a couple of reasons. Every bank's got a different calculation method, right? So if you go to an online tool that's not even doesn't belong to a bank, because they don't open that to the public, then obviously there's already a discrepancy. As a rule of thumb, you could think that if you've got a fairly simple situation, 5 to 6 times your income is round about how much you can do. But as soon as you start having different types of income, like allowances, bonuses, commissions, forget that rule. If you've got kids, that complicates it. If you've got existing debts, then it's just too hard, right? So there can be simple ideas, but really we have to calculate it precisely. Sure. And especially if you're borderline, because you may qualify with one bank and not with another. And so I always say to my client, the more you give me, the more details you give me, the better an assessment I can do and the more accurate we can be.
Yep, makes sense. Now, we've talked a lot about interest rates on this show. I think we need a bit of an update. Interest rate update, what's going on?
Interest rate update. So, Dan, I've got a present for you.
Oh, I thought you were going to...
I've got a present for you.
Wow.
We do have the disco ball.
Look at that. Now, if you're listening to this is a reason you need to get on YouTube right now, click subscribe and have a look at the disco ball.
Yeah, it's it. We have the disco ball. Obviously, we don't have a crystal ball at Go Mortgage. We're not allowed to buy one of them, but we do have a disco ball. We did this before, right? We talked about interest rate.
We did.
Probably 6 months ago. It was at the beginning of 2024. And I think we got them right.
Yeah.
There was a lot of scare tactics. Rates were not supposed to go up, and they didn't. But where are we now? So we second half of 2024, heading into 2025. And there's a lot of people sitting on their hands because they're not sure what's going on.
Yep.
Michelle from the RBS still says they could increase it. What we're seeing is this. Few things, telltales. Number one, and I printed this, this is the price of fuel. Now, fuel and rent are two of the biggest culprits when it comes to inflation.
Yep.
And both those are showing signs of dropping. So I don't know if you've filled up your car lately.
Not in Melbourne, it's not. I can tell you that. I
Right.
filled up this morning, but yeah, beautiful.
Okay, so what was the price in Melbourne this morning?
$2.03.
Okay, this says here $1.55.
Wow.
Right, so, and if you look in Queensland right now, the fuel is under $1.70.
We noticed that driving here,
right?
yeah.
And so that's the first chinks in the armour.
Yep.
Right? The other thing that I've picked up, which is an article from CoreLogic, it talks about the end of the rental boom is in sight. So we talk about two big culprits, rent and fuel. Both of those are showing signs of tampering, right? And what that tells me is that we are definitely now at the top. We're starting to slide down the other end.
That's good news.
Big news also, and then I'll go into what the Aussies think, but this is a chart of the interest rates in the US,
Yep.
which you can put on screen if you want.
Yeah, it'll be up there.
Right. Last night, for the first time in a long time, the interest rate dropped in the US. So they dropped 0.5%.
Last night.
Last night.
Right.
The first time the rates dropped since 2022, so 2 years ago, and it dropped by 0.5%. So not a quarter, a full half, if we can say that, full half.
Yeah.
And so all these are definitely showing us that we are probably past the top and starting
Great.
to be on the way down. I did pick up some comments from The Economist, so I will read that
Yes,
for
please.
us. Last time we spoke about interest rate, most of the banks were tipping a reduction before the end of 2024, but now there's only one bank. The yellow and black bank tells us that they'd probably still drop by end of 2024. That wasn't a plug for Richmond. Westpac and NZ have pulled back. However, the first interest rate cut for them will be in Feb 2025, and NAB is still seeing it in May 2025.
Okay.
Right? So there's a big discrepancy there. But one thing is for sure is everyone is tipping interest rate drop, no interest rate hikes, and it's just a matter of when. Will it be in 24 or in 25?
A silly question maybe. US election, does that result of that, does that affect this kind of thing? Do we, in years gone by, if
Well,
or we're not going there. We don't have to go there.
no, it's a hard one. Probably does, right? Especially if Trump's involved. I think at this stage, the interest rate and the cost of living is more topical than what happens in the US. On top of that, it's Trump's second time, so less scary than the first, maybe. I'm not sure about that.
I just didn't know if it makes a difference. I don't know, when there's a change of government in Australia too, if there's a flow-on effect, how long that typically takes. Because we typically follow America in a lot of aspects.
So when there's elections here, people tend to do what they're doing now, which is sit on their hands for a few months before the election,
Yep.
wanting to know what's going to happen. I'm not sure why, because it doesn't seem to change
No,
much.
but that's why I asked, because it doesn't.
Yeah.
It seems people seem to wait and they want to see, but nothing really changes. So
Yeah, so I think at the moment it's really about interest rates and cost of living. The interest rates have gone down in the US. They've also gone down in Canada, Brazil, Denmark, Mexico, I think. So there's a fair few places in the world where they have started to come down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so the final point for this episode too, and this is just what we're hearing commonly in the I'll say amateur marketplace, people that don't understand. So what if they do a person has a house, but they want to move to a new one? This sounds difficult. That's kind of what we're being fed. What are your thoughts around that?
I mean, I would personally say that if you've got the right person on your side, like us, that we can make it a lot more or lot less stressful, I should say. But I don't think it is as hard as a lot of people are making it out to be, whether that's you're looking to just sell and buy, and how that sort of goes with a bridging loan, which they say it's difficult, but it's not realistically the hardest thing.
Yeah. So and the only difficult bit is logistics sometimes. So the better way to do that, if you are selling your current house and buying a new one, financially smart ways to sell first and buy second.
Yep.
But that's a problem. Where are you going to live if the contracts don't kind of line up? The other way around is, as Jack mentions, doing a bridging loan when you can buy first and sell second. There's just a slight higher financial risk there in terms of you don't really know how much you're going to sell yours for, but you've already committed to the new one, right? We can help either way. Actually, we can even help, that's right, assess which strategy would fit you best, yeah?
Yeah, I think that's it. That's another good point is, the strategies and which would be beneficial for you is definitely one of our strengths.
Yeah, because a bridging loan doesn't always work. Not for everybody anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you for the update. This has been a good episode. We've covered quite a lot of topics. How did you think Jack went on his debut and Listen Loan, Let's Go? We're going to keep him around for another episode or two?
Yeah, I think it went well. How do you think you went, Jack?
I
Comfortable?
really enjoyed it. Yeah,
You enjoyed it?
Yeah, quite comfortable. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Mate, you don't look out of place at all. You did very, very well. Thank you, guys. Of course, do you want to, maybe we can throw to Jack to do this. Where do we find Go Mortgage? And then Xavier, if it's not right, you can top and tail it. But where do we go?
Oh, where don't we go? We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I think that's about
There's some keywords we got to Google, though. Did you know about this?
No.
You might not know about
No,
this.
No, there you
All right,
go.
why don't we educate Jack? What are those
That's
words,
it.
Xavier?
Just Google it. Best mortgage broker Gold Coast.
That's all you have to do.
That's all we have to do.
Awesome.
Well, guys, we'd encourage everybody listening or watching to go and make contact with these guys. They're awesome. And, of course, thank you, guys, and we look forward to the next episode.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Awesome.